Three more MBSA enforcers nabbed for allegedly protecting illegal premises. MOH to study effectiveness of a Russian COVID-19 vaccine. Hello and good afternoon. I'm Mohan Priya. Welcome to Updates at Noon. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has remanded three more enforcement officers of the Shah Alam City Council, MBSA, to help in investigations into the case of allegedly accepting and collecting bribes to protect illegal business premises in Sungai Buloh. The 6-day remand order imposed on the three men, aged between 40 and 43, which began today until 19th August, was issued by Magistrate Shahwira Abdul Halim at the Putrajaya Magistrates Court. They were detained at the MACC headquarters yesterday after arriving to give their statements and were brought to the court today at 8:30 a.m., handcuffed and wearing the MACC orange attire. The three are being investigated under Section 17, subsection A of the MACC Act 2009. This brings to 8 the number of MBSA enforcement officers and one trader who has been remanded in connection to the same case. The issue surfaced after two video clips went viral recently after they were broadcast on the Facebook account of Hot Burger Malaysia and shared on the account of Muhammad Asri Hamid, 42, also known as Asri Janggut, who claimed that the authorities have not taken action against gambling activities and dens in Bandar Baru, Sungai Buloh. Following this, the MACC began investigations and is working with the Integrity and Standards Compliance Department in Bukit Aman to investigate the allegations. Now, separately, the tactic of online gambling operators to hide their illegal activities behind other businesses in Seberang Perai Utara, Pulau Pinang failed as they were busted by police in Ops Dadu recently. Seberang Perai Utara District Police Chief ACP Nur Zaini Muhammad Nur said its Anti-Vice Gambling and Secret Societies Division, D7, had conducted 25 raids and arrested 15 individuals, including 4 women aged 21 to 39, in the operations conducted from 1st July until 10th August.
Mereka ni berselindung di sebalik sama ada macam tuan-tuan lihat tadi di kedai bandel dan kedai-kedai runcit, kedai-kedai pakaian pun ada dan kedai-kedai handphone ataupun yang menjual top up lah. So fungsi lubang ni lah untuk penganjur untuk mengenal pasti selalunya kepada perusahaan di sini sebelum dibenarkan masuk sama ada melalui pintu hadapan ataupun di pintu belakang. Dan taktik mereka ialah mereka hanya membenarkan mereka-mereka yang mereka kenali saja untuk masuk dalam.
Pelanggan tetap lah tuan.
Pelanggan tetap.
Earlier, ACP Nur Zaini led an operation to cut the electricity supply in premises identified as conducting illegal online gambling and lottery activities around Bertam and Tasik Glugo. He said the raided premises had installed closed-circuit television or CCTV cameras to detect a police presence, and the operators would close these premises if they saw any suspicious persons around. ACP Nur Zaini added that police would also take action against the owners of premises that allowed their tenants to conduct criminal activities. Over in Johor, the police have busted the Man Halil Wahar gang, believed to be active in stealing motorcycles in Kota Tinggi district, with the arrest of 4 local men in 2 separate operations. Kota Tinggi District Police Chief Superintendent Hussein Zamora said the first arrest on 29th July involved 3 local men aged between 17 and 32 in Felda Bukit Wahar, while the second arrest involved a 17-year-old local teenager in Kota Kechil on 5th August. He said the arrests also led to the discovery of 18 motorcycle frames of various types worth 120,000 ringgit, which were dumped in a swamp, adding the gang was also involved in motorcycle thefts in Johor Bahru.
Setakat ni kita hanya jumpa melibatkan rangka motosikal Honda EX5 RXZ. Superbike belum jumpa lagi. Sebab Superbike ni almaklumlah dia mempunyai ciri-ciri keselamatan yang agak tinggi dan sukar berbanding dengan motosikal kapcai ni.
All suspects were remanded until 18th August to assist in investigations under Section 379A of the Penal Code. There has been no scientific proof regarding the discovery of COVID-19 vaccine by Russia, which became the first country to register the vaccine. Health Director General Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the Health Ministry could not recommend the use of the vaccine in Malaysia as it was unsure whether the third phase of clinical research had been carried out.
Jadi kita banyak persoalan ataupun soalan yang timbul dan kita tidak ada jawapan. Sama ada vaksin ini berkesan ataupun berapa dia punya coverage ataupun antibody yang boleh kekal. Adakah kita perlu melaksanakan booster, berapa kekerapan booster yang perlu dilaksanakan. Jadi kita banyak soalan. Tapi kita tak ada lagi dapati iaitu penerbitan mengenai kajian tersebut. Jadi kita menunggu kajian tersebut, penerbitan tersebut, baru kita boleh baca dan boleh kita mengatakan sama ada vaksin ini berkesan ataupun tidak.
Commenting further, he said what was important was the effectiveness of the vaccine and its side effects, which is why the third phase of clinical research must be carried out. Meanwhile, the proactive steps taken by the MOH in carrying out public health activities have succeeded in curbing the spread of COVID-19 in Sarawak. Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham said this was evident from the fact that there had been no increase in positive cases from the 10 clusters in Sarawak for the past 2 weeks. The state had, in fact, been reclassified as a green zone.
Ini menunjukkan tindakan kita iaitu kita menghantar Dr. Hisham Shah dan juga Dr. Nur Hayati ke lampangan dan kita mengambil tindakan kesihatan awam berjaya untuk membendung penularan jangkitan COVID-19 di negeri Sarawak, di Kuching dan negeri Sarawak. Jadi dan juga kita telah mempertingkatkan keupayaan makmal di Hospital Umum Sarawak. Jadi kita harap kita dapat kekal iaitu kes untuk memantau dan juga membendung penularan COVID-19 di negara kita.
In other development, the Director General said there were no new positive cases related to the gathering outside the Kuala Lumpur High Court during the trial of former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak on 28th July. The national level Ma'al Hijrah celebration this year will take place in a brief ceremony at the National Mosque on 19th August. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri, said the celebration would be held in the new normal with a limited number of participants and according to the Standard Operating Procedure or SOP set by the authorities to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Kita buat juga dalam bentuk yang amat ringkas, iaitu pada petang tahun akhir, pada akhir tahun Hijrah 1441 dan insya-Allah akan selesai selepas solat maghrib, solat hajat pada malam tersebut. Dan anugerah akan dibuat di peringkat kebangsaan di Masjid Negara insya-Allah pada malam tersebut dalam kapasiti yang amat terhad.
The minister was met after officiating the roundtable conference for the task force on the enforcement of current religious issues on social media in Kuala Lumpur. He hoped that the task force would be able to find solutions to several issues, including those related to the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender or LGBT group, insults to Islam, heresy and atheism. The large number of individuals being punished for defying the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO shows that many Malaysians still chose to disobey the Standard Operating Procedures or SOP to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Senior Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said on Wednesday alone the police detained 184 people for defying the RMCO, with 135 were issued compounds while 49 were remanded for further investigation. The senior minister said the police will be strict and will not compromise with errant individuals, adding among the offences were not wearing a face mask, exceeding the approved operation hours, being involved in pub activities and disobeying the home quarantine order.
Dan task force akan terus mempertingkatkan pemeriksaan serta mengambil tindakan bukan sahaja kepada individu tetapi juga kepada pemilik premis yang gagal mematuhi SOP yang dikeluarkan oleh kerajaan.
On the development of the Administrative Targeted Enhanced Movement Control Order in Kedah and Perlis, the senior minister stressed that visitors and local residents were strictly prohibited from entering and leaving the areas. A total of 42 blocks of workers' quarters comprising 840 units occupied by foreign workers in Jalan Labu LBJ, Taman Gadong Jaya, Sendayan, near Seremban were destroyed in a fire yesterday. Negeri Sembilan Fire and Rescue Department Assistant Director of Operations Ahmad Mukhlis Mokhtar, who led the operation, said all 1,140 occupants were at their respective workplaces at the time of the incident. Ahmad Mukhlis said that 4 fire engines, 3 from Seremban 2 Fire and Rescue Station and 1 from Seremban, as well as 30 officials and firefighters were dispatched to the location upon receiving a distress call at 4:20 p.m. He said there were a total of 49 blocks in the approximately 2.43 hectare area, but the team managed to save 7 blocks comprising 140 units, adding that the blaze was brought under control an hour later. The cause of the fire and estimated losses are still being investigated. Still to come, a National Youth Day celebration to be held in Johor Bahru this Saturday. The National Youth Day 2020 celebration themed Dekat Ini Dekat Anda will be held in Johor Bahru this Saturday after the celebration, originally scheduled for 15th May, was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Youth and Sports Ministry Secretary General Dato' M. Nur Azman Taib said the highlight of this year's Youth Day celebration would be the presentation of the COVID-19 Youth Hero Award to 6 youths in appreciation of their services and sacrifices in helping the community during the pandemic. Dato' Nur Azman said the recipients of the COVID-19 Youth Hero Award were nominated by individuals, associations and organizations, and 357 nominations had been received for the category. He said the celebration at the Persada Johor International Convention Centre for the first time would comply with the standard operating procedure implemented during the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO. He added the celebration, which would be quite different this time due to the COVID-19 pandemic, consisted of a fusion of physical and virtual elements and involved 5 clusters, namely leadership, economy, sports and fitness, social and competition. According to him, 17 activities had been and would be held virtually, including the e-sports challenge and Swara Lit, which is about youth success stories. Women, Family and Community Development Ministry had signed a memorandum of understanding with Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad for cooperation in empowering social welfare programs based on the digital economy platform. Its Minister, Datuk Sri Rina Mohamed Harun, said the MOU will be a catalyst for better skills development, direct assistance, entrepreneurship and social and community development, supported by data and technology. The minister said in the short term, this data aggregation initiative will allow the ministry to integrate all assistance provided to the community and enable accurate financing to target entrepreneurs, as well as provide specific guidance programs to individuals in need. Meanwhile, she said corporate bodies need to highlight the corporate shared value or CSV approach in their business model, which is a combination of business objectives and corporate social responsibility.
Jadi pendekatan CSV ini merupakan penggabungan objektif perniagaan dan juga CSR sebagai satu bentuk model perniagaan yang holistik. Oleh itu CSV bukanlah semata-mata usaha kebajikan macam CSR, tetapi sebaliknya satu bentuk model perniagaan yang dipacu oleh kehendak semasa untuk membantu menyelesaikan masalah komuniti di samping kita nak memastikan situasi win-win situation di antara korporat dan juga komuniti ini dapat dicapai.
She said this after witnessing the signing of the MOU in Kuala Lumpur. The event was also attended by Communications and Multimedia Minister Dato' Saifuddin Abdullah. Thousands volunteer for COVID-19 vaccine trials in South Florida. This and more. Stay tuned. Tens of thousands of Belarusians staged a wave of peaceful protests on Thursday against President Alexander Lukashenko's disputed re-election and an ensuing brutal police crackdown. In apparent concessions on Thursday evening, Belarus announced the release of more than 1,000 detained protesters, and the Interior Minister apologized to injured bystanders. This came as European countries condemned the police violence, and the European Union was set to discuss possible sanctions on Friday. On Thursday evening in central Minsk, crowds stood on the streets cheering as cars drove past honking horns in support without any detentions. Official statements suggested a more conciliatory approach following public outrage at extreme police violence, including shootings and beatings. Senate Speaker Natalia Kochanova said on television that Lukashenko had ordered officials to review detentions, and more than 1,000 detained at protests had been released. The Interior Ministry said it had detained some 6,700 people at daily protests since Sunday. A fast-moving brush fire north of Los Angeles prompted mandatory evacuation orders for some 500 homes on Wednesday as firefighters battled the flames that had burned 10,000 acres by early evening. The lake fire erupted near Lake Hughes, about a 90-minute drive from Los Angeles. According to the Los Angeles County Fire Department, rapidly spreading flames had scorched some 10,000 acres within a little more than 3 hours. The smoke plume from the flames could be seen miles away from the site of the fire. More than 300 firefighters, backed by helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, were deployed to fight the blaze. Wildfires have become more frequent and bigger in California in recent years, in part driven by climate change. Now, the deadliest fire in the state's history, the Camp Fire, took place in Northern California in November 2018 and killed 86 people. Thousands in South Florida are volunteering for anti-coronavirus vaccine trials as pharmaceutical companies race to find a successful prevention remedy against the disease, which has already claimed more than 750,000 lives worldwide. Now, the trials in South Florida do not use a live virus. Instead, the vaccines use a piece of the virus from a protein or genetic code that the body uses to make its own protein to stimulate an immune response. Essentially, the vaccine teaches the immune system how to handle the virus before it encounters the real thing. Phase 3 trials, the final phase before a vaccine is licensed, typically takes 1 to 4 years. Now, on fast track, Dr. Howard Schwartz, the Chief Medical Officer for Research Centers of America, says the trials aren't just to test if the shots produce antibodies or immunity. They will also verify that volunteers do not suffer serious adverse effects. In earlier phases of clinical trials involving a small number of participants, side effects for the various vaccines included moderate or severe chills, fatigue, headache, malaise, or fever. Participants will keep a daily electronic diary of their health, and that information continually will be sent to the manufacturer. To get a COVID-19 vaccine to the American people by 2021, the federal government is picking up the cost and producing large quantities of the most promising vaccines. While the clinical trials are still ongoing, the vaccine will be given out to Americans once the FDA deems it creates enough antibodies to fight off the virus without causing harm. The head of the government of Caracas, the senior Chavista leader Dario Vivas, died this Thursday, less than a month after testing positive for COVID-19, becoming the first high-ranking official in Nicolas Maduro's government to succumb to the disease. 70-year-old Vivas, who was reported to have contracted the virus on 19th July, was isolated in a medical center about a month ago. The president of Venezuela's Constituent Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, announced this on Twitter. Vivas is the first top-level Venezuelan government official to die of the virus, though several have tested positive. Venezuelans remember him for having been the presenter of the acts of Hugo Chavez campaign for the 2012 elections, when the late president won his fourth term, just months before he died of cancer. Venezuela had reported 29,088 cases of COVID-19 as of Wednesday, with 247 deaths. Those are both among the lowest figures in South America, but doctors and opposition politicians warn that the true caseload is likely far higher given testing delays, citing data from healthcare workers. Britain on Thursday said it will reimpose quarantine for travellers from France and the Netherlands following a rise in coronavirus cases in those countries. Transport Minister Grant Shapps wrote on his official Twitter page that any passenger arriving in the UK after Saturday from these countries will have to self-isolate for 14 days. The move will likely spark a mass exodus among the estimated 500,000 British holidaymakers currently in France. Britain initially imposed a blanket quarantine on all visitors arriving in the country, but later carved out travel corridors, which exempted travellers arriving from certain countries from having to self-isolate. But it reintroduced the quarantine for travellers arriving from Spain in late July, catching the airlines by surprise and thousands of Britons leaving for their holidays. With over 41,000 deaths due to COVID-19 disease, Britain is the worst hit country in Europe, and Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been criticised over his handling of the crisis. Leipzig stunned Atletico Madrid to reach Champions League semi-finals. But first, about 100 amateur golfers are set to tee off in the inaugural 2020 Selangor Golf Classic from 29th until 30th September as the state seeks to revive its domestic tourism industry. The tournament, a collaboration between Tourism Selangor and Liberty Golf Services, aims to promote domestic tourism in the state under its Pusing Selangor Dulu campaign, which is targeting 6 million tourists this year. Liberty Golf Services General Manager Yushin Ng said the tournament's participation have been limited to curb the spread of COVID-19 pandemic.
So looking into all this and the whole event flow from the time that the golfers come in to register their golf game and then off to the tee off, and how they play amongst each other when they come back for their lunch, and then off to also the prize presentation, how will the stress within our team, can we handle all this? And so we would want to, and we've made all these safety parameters being accorded for, and we found out that 120 will be the top side of things.
The first round of the 36-hole two-day tournament will be played at the Mines Resort and Golf Club in Sri Kembangan. The final round will be held at the Kota Permai Golf and Country Club in Kota Kemuning. Liberty Golf Services General Manager Yushin Ng said participants would also have a chance to play an optional round at the Glenmarie Golf and Country Club in Shah Alam and take home 1,200 ringgit worth of goodies when they sign up with a registration fee of 999 ringgit. RB Leipzig boss Julian Nagelsmann says he is relishing facing former mentor and Paris Saint-Germain coach Thomas Tuchel in the Champions League semi-finals following his side's stunning win over Atletico Madrid. Leipzig, who were only founded in 2009, booked a semi-final berth at their first attempt in the knockout stages when US midfielder Tyler Adams hit an 88th-minute winner. The goal sealed the Germans' win after a Joao Felix penalty for Atletico had cancelled out Dani Olmo's header for Leipzig early in the second half. Nagelmann's Leipzig held on their nerve after Felix equalised before Adams came off the bench to seal the winner after superb work in the build-up left by left-back Angelino and midfielder Marcel Sabitzer. Leipzig now face PSG next Tuesday, also in Lisbon, for a place in the 23rd August final. It was PSG's German coach Tuchel, 46, who gave Nagelmann his first break at Augsburg 12 years ago as a scout, which saw him then become a coach. When coach of his former club Hoffenheim, Nagelsmann lost twice and drew against Tuchel, who was then in charge of Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga between 2016 and 2017. Nagelsmann was full of praise for PSG, who came back against Atalanta on Wednesday to win after scoring 2 late goals. This is the first time Leipzig have made the knockout stages of the Champions League, and having already beaten Tottenham in the last 16, they want to make more history. Arturo Vidal has warned Bayern Munich his Barcelona team are the best team in the world ahead of their Champions League quarter-final in Lisbon on Saturday. And Barca coach Quique Setién was in confident mood too, insisting Bayern's in-form striker Robert Lewandowski is clearly not at the level of his captain Lionel Messi. Their comments come after former Bayern midfielder Lothar Matthäus told the German newspaper Bild earlier this week Lewandowski has overtaken Messi as the best player in the world and he no longer fears Barcelona. Vidal spent 3 years at Bayern, who are deemed heavy favourites to reach the semis after winning the German title and hammering Chelsea while Barca crumbled in La Liga. But Vidal said on Thursday Barcelona's opponents should not be complacent. Barcelona surrendered the Spanish title to Real Madrid after winning only 7 of their 11 matches following the restart. They then laboured to a 3-1 win over Napoli in the Champions League last 16 on Saturday. Asked about the expectation that Bayern will go through, Vidal said they are the best team in the world, but in La Liga they haven't shown it in the last few games. Messi is likely to be key at the Estadio da Luz, with some suggesting all Barcelona's hopes rest on the 33-year-old's shoulders. Yet Bayern have their own trump card in Lewandowski, who has scored an astonishing 53 goals in 44 games for his club this season. Messi has hit 31 goals in 43 matches for Barca. And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story today, 3 more MBSA enforcers nabbed for allegedly protecting illegal premises. News at 10 comes on this evening on My Freeview's Berita RTM News channel. I'm Mohana Priya. Thanks for your company.